Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be starting a new lecture series on antibiotics. Now this is mainly based on the Bangalore University undergraduate syllabus, which comprises of the definition of antibiotics, the characteristics of an ideal chemotherapeutic agent, the different classes of antibiotics, the criteria for classification and the different classes under each of the criteria, the modes of action of antibiotics. This will be followed by type study or detailed study on a few selected antibiotics and a brief on antibiotic resistance. So these are the different topics I'll be handling under this series. Today we will be starting off with what are antibiotics and what is their classification. So when we talk about antibiotics, this is a terminology that had been given by the scientist S.A. Waxman, the soil microbiologist. And like the name says, antibiotics, it is a substance, it is a chemical that is against life, or antibios. It is against life. Anything that is acting on a biological system or a living system can be grouped as an antibiotic. But S. Waxman in the year 1945 gave the definition which I have shown over here, that is, they are chemical substances which are produced by microorganisms and which can kill or inhibit the growth of other microorganisms at low concentrations. This is what was the initial definition. So, any chemical substance that is produced by an organism and which is able to inhibit the growth of another microorganism or kill the other organism at low concentrations was called as an antibiotic. But then the definition was modified to include some more terminologies, that is now, or the modified definition of what Waxman gave is that these are chemical substances that remain same. They need not be produced by microorganisms alone. So antibiotics are now known to be chemical substances, or you can say that they are naturally produced microbial products or their derivatives. They are chemical substances which are naturally produced by the organism, or once the organism produces these substances, we modify them or they are derived from there, we get a derivative. The rest of the definition remains same, that is, which can kill or inhibit the growth of other microorganisms at low concentration. So this is now the accepted definition of antibiotics, that is, the chemical substances which are naturally produced by microorganisms or their derivatives which can kill or inhibit the growth of other microorganisms at low concentration is known as an antibiotic. Now, these antibiotics are examples of chemotherapeutic agent. Again, from the definition or from the terminology itself, we can make out that these are chemicals. Chemo stands for chemical agents which are helping in therapy or which are destroying pathogens. So, a chemotherapeutic agent has several features. We will be talking about it in the coming lectures. But a chemotherapeutic agent example is antibiotic. Chemotherapeutic agent is an agent or chemical agent which is helping in therapy or which is helping to treat a disease. And antibiotics are one example of a chemotherapeutic agent. Now, before I get into what are the different types and what are the different classes, I would like to also bring your attention to one fact that now, as of now, antibiotics is a term that is used usually for chemical agents that are active against bacteria. Though there are different classes and there are different types of antibiotics, generally the terminology that is accepted by practitioners, medical practitioners worldwide and by scientists is that presently antibiotic is a group of chemical substances which are produced by microorganisms or which are derived from microorganisms that are active against bacteria, and those which are active against viruses are termed differently as antiviral agents. But let us see what is the classification, what are the different criteria for classification which were initially being followed. So based on different criteria or based on the various criteria, we have different classes. The first criteria for classification is the target organism or the organism against which our antibiotic is working. Now this is where I told you about antiviral and antibacterial. We'll talk about it in detail in a bit. We also have the antibiotics being grouped based on their structure. Again, here we do have changes which we'll be talking about. Then based on their antimicrobial spectrum, that is how many types of organisms or what is the range of organisms that it is effective against, that the antibiotic is effective against, and finally the mode of action, which can also be used as one criteria for classification. So based on these criteria, we have different types of antibiotics. We'll be talking about each of these criteria in today's lecture. The first criteria is the target group of organisms. So, based on the target group of microorganisms, antibiotics were divided or were differentiated into antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral antibiotics. Now, this is what I was trying to tell you. Though this classification was initially being used and it is being used in a lot of literature, presently in use, practically, if we see, it is now believed that if I say antibiotic, it means antibacterial. And antiviral is taken as a separate group of chemotherapeutic agents. But when we talk about with respect to the target group of microorganisms, when we are dividing antibiotics with respect to your exams or with respect to literature when you need to write, this is the classification for antibiotics based on the target group. So we have antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral, and the name itself is very clear over here. Antibacterial antibiotics are those antibiotics which are effective against bacteria. Now, when we say effective, it could be either killing the bacteria or inhibiting its growth, but it is effective against that particular bacteria. Antifungal antibiotics are those which are effective against fungi, and antiviral antibiotics are those which are effective against viruses. Now, viruses being acellular agents, that is why now we say that no, we cannot call antiviral antibiotics. Instead, we need to call them as a separate group, that is antiviral agents, because viruses are not microorganisms or I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. They are microorganisms, but they are acellular in nature. So we have antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral antibiotics, and some examples of each have been listed here. Some of the common examples of antibacterial antibiotics are penicillin, cephalosporin, tetracycline, rifamycin, streptomycin, vancomycin, etc. Antifungal antibiotics are those which are effective against fungi, that means which are effective against the eukaryotic microorganisms. Example is nystatin or candicidin, griseofulvin, primoracin, cyclohexamide, etc. And the antiviral agents or the antiviral antibiotics are examples include acycloguanosine, which is also called as acyclovir, azithromycin, amantadine, etc. So these are the different types of antibiotics based on the first criteria of classification, that is target group. That is, the antibiotics are divided into different classes based on which is the group of organism that it is going to attack. Is it attacking bacteria? Is it attacking fungi? Or is it attacking viruses? So based on this, we have three different classes or three different groups. The second criteria for classification is the structure, is based on the structure of the antibiotic. So based on that, we have six types of antibiotics based on the structure. This again, there is a lot of change in this. This what I am showing you here or what I am going to tell you here is the initial structural classification. Now there are many more or there are many other new structural groups that have been added. I'll mention about it at the end. So the six initial classes or types of antibiotics based on structure can be put into this abbreviation, or that is A3CMQ. Now, A3CMQ can be elaborated into any words that will help you to remember. For example, I could say that A cube stands for Amar Akbar Antony. I'll tell you what are the three types. So Amar Akbar Antony, which is coming over here, it's a popular Hindi movie and it will help you to remember that. Amar Akbar Antony, Cut, Mother, Queen. So this is one of the analogies that I could use. You can use any terminology over here, which will any phrase that will help you to remember the six different classes under structure of antibiotics. So we have Amar Akbar Antony, Cut, Mother, Queen. Let's see who are these Amar Akbar Antony. So Amar is alicyclic derivatives, the first type of antibiotic under the structural classification of antibiotics is alicyclic derivatives. Alicyclic, the name here again says it all. These are aliphatic compounds which are cyclic in nature. So all their properties are like that of aliphatic compounds, but they are cyclic in nature. So their properties are like straight chain compounds, but they are having cyclic property. One of the examples that is shown over here is cyclopropane, which is shown in the diagram here. So alicyclic derivatives are aliphatic and cyclic antibiotics. Examples include chlorohexamide and fusidic acid. This was Amar. Let's go on to see what is Akbar. Akbar stands for aromatic compounds. Aromatic compounds or aromatic antibiotics are those which have a cyclic structure. Again, here you can see the cyclic structure, but they are having properties similar to that of aromatic compounds, which means they have double bonds in them and they have this delocalized pi electron cloud, which has been shown over here. So the delocalized pi electron cloud, multiple double bonds and a cyclic structure, if it is having, then that antibiotic is considered to be an aromatic compound. For example, chloramphenicol or griseofulvin. So we have finished with two types under the structural classification, Amar and Akbar, or in other words, alicyclic and aromatic. Coming to Antony, Amar, Akbar, Antony. Antony is a very, very important group of compounds, antibiotics, that is amino acid and peptide compounds. Now, amino acid and peptide compounds are those which are having a peptide structure or which are having an amino acid structure in them. Under this, we have a very important group of antibiotics, that is the beta-lactams, which includes antibiotics such as penicillin and its derivatives, cycloserine, cephalosporin. All of these, the ones which are listed out in the first point, are called under a subgroup, that is beta-lactam. The detailed structure of beta-lactam we will do when we talk about penicillin in depth. There are also other amino acid and peptide antibiotics which are not beta-lactams. For example, bacitracin. So bacitracin is coming under the group of peptide compounds or amino acid compounds, but it is not a beta-lactam antibiotic. And what you can see over here in the picture is Penicillium fungus, which is the fungus that releases or secretes penicillin antibiotic. So we have finished with three groups, Amar, Akbar, Antony, or alicyclic derivatives, aromatic compounds, amino acid compounds. These are the first three types of antibiotics under the structural classification. The fourth one, cut. Amar, Akbar, Antony, cut. So for cut, it stands for carbohydrate compounds. These are antibiotics which are having a carbohydrate structure in them, or the functional group over here is normally either an aldehyde group or a keto group. Ketone or aldehyde is the functional group. Those kind of biomolecules or those kind of compounds are called as carbohydrates. And the carbohydrate antibiotics include streptomycin, gentamicin, we have vancomycin, streptozotocin. Again, it's a very broad group of antibiotics. In fact, under this group, we have again a very important subgroup that is called as aminoglycosides. The examples which I have listed out in the first point are called as aminoglycosides, which means they are carbohydrates, but they do have a huge chunk of amino group in them. So they are behaving like carbohydrates. All their properties are like carbohydrates, but in this compound there are many amino groups that are added, and hence it is called as aminoglycosides. Examples being, some of the popular examples being neomycin, kanamycin, streptomycin and gentamicin. Apart from aminoglycosides, we do have other carbohydrate compound antibiotics such as vancomycin and streptozotocin. You can see the diagram that is put up over here is that of vancomycin. So we have finished with four groups, that is Amar, Akbar, Antony, cut. Now coming to the last two groups, that is mother, queen. So mother stands for macrolides. Macrolides are a group of antibiotics which contain a macrocyclic lactone ring. Macro, a huge ring. Macrocyclic lactone ring. Now lactone is the ring that is shown over here. There are different types of lactone. This is one of the lactone rings that is shown here. So a lactone ring is basically a cyclic ester compound. C double bond OOR. That is the functional group that is involved here. So a macrocyclic lactone ring, if it is present in the antibiotic, then we call them as macrolides. For example, we have erythromycin, clarithromycin, azithromycin, some of the very important antibiotics that are in use today. So macrolides are those antibiotics which are comprising of a macrocyclic, a huge, that is why we call it as a macrocyclic lactone ring structure, or lactone in other words is a cyclic ester. Now coming to our last group of antibiotics based on the structure, that is quinolones. Quinolones or its related compounds are essentially bicyclic structure. So uh, they contain two ring shaped structures, or bicyclic core structure. Apart from the bicyclic core structure, they can have several other structures as well. So this is the bicyclic core structure. And another important characteristic of the quinolones is that they are halogenated. So normally it is fluorine, so they are also called as fluoroquinolones, but we can even have other halogens like chlorine in them. Examples include nalidixic acid, norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin, etc. Now, under this, we also initially had tetracycline, but if we see the latest classification, tetracycline has now been made as a separate group. So, like I said at the beginning, this structural classification is what was initially being followed. Now, there are many more structural groups that have been added, or from the same compounds, the structural groups have been removed and made as a new group. For example, we have groups called as tetracyclines, or we have groups called as carbapenems. So there are different groups, there are many more groups that are added, which is important in case of a pharmacological paper or in case of a pharmacy student. But with respect to a microbiology paper or a microbiology point of view, it is enough if you know that these are the six basic structural classification of antibiotics. In this structural classification, there are many more subclasses and subgroups. So we have spoken about the two criteria of classification, that is target group and structure, based on the structure of antibiotics. Moving on to the third criteria for classification, that is the antimicrobial spectrum, or in simpler words, the range of effectiveness of an antibiotic, which means to say how many types of organisms is the antibiotic able to attack, or is the antibiotic is able to be effective on. For example, under this we have broad spectrum and narrow spectrum antibiotics. Broad spectrum antibiotics are those which are able to attack different types or different kinds of microbial pathogens. So they are having a much more wider medical use, because the same antibiotic can act on different variants of an organism. For example, if you see the first three that have been listed out over here, these are antibacterial in nature, which means they are broad spectrum antibacterial antibiotics. They are able to act on both gram positive and gram negative bacteria. So if there is an infection that is very complicated or a very severe infection in a person, and we need to attack many different types of organisms, then these antibiotics can be used. That is ampicillin or chloramphenicol, erythromycin, cephalosporin. These are some of the broad spectrum antibiotics. We have broad spectrum antifungal antibiotics as well. Examples include ketoconazole and miconazole. Now, these are antifungal antibiotics which are effective on fungal dermatophytes. So, if a fungus is causing a skin infection, it does not matter to these antibiotics which group it belongs to. As long as it is able to cause a skin infection, these antibiotics are effective. So, basically, to say they are effective against most fungal dermatophytes, hence, they are grouped under antifungal broad spectrum antibiotics. And then we have antiviral broad spectrum antibiotics. Under this, examples include cidofovir and ribavirin, the last two which have been shown over here. Cidofovir is an antiviral antibiotic that is effective against different virus groups such as herpes, adenovirus, pox virus, papilloma virus. So it is able to act on different viral groups, and hence it is called as an antiviral agent which is broad spectrum in nature. It is able to act on a wide group or different types of viruses. Ribavirin, on the other hand, is also a broad spectrum antiviral agent because it is able to act on all RNA viruses. It is not specific, it is not selective. It is able to act on a broad group or a wide group of organisms. So if you see here, whether it is antibacterial, antifungal or antiviral, if it is able to act on a broad range of organisms or pathogens, then we call them as broad spectrum antibiotics. Moving on to narrow spectrum antibiotics, the other type under the third category of classification, that is antimicrobial spectrum. The second type of antibiotic based on the antimicrobial spectrum is narrow spectrum antibiotics. Now, these are exact opposite of broad spectrum, which means to say that they are effective only against a limited group of pathogens. A specific group of pathogens only they can act upon, and hence we call them as narrow spectrum antibiotics. Examples here include bacitracin, gentamicin, penicillin, which are antibacterial narrow spectrum antibiotics, or we have nystatin, which is an antifungal narrow spectrum antibiotic, and we have azithromycin, which is an antiviral antibiotic that is narrow spectrum in nature. So these are some of the examples of antimicrobial spectrum, that is narrow antibiotics. So antibiotics which are having a narrow spectrum or a narrow range of effectiveness. The fourth criteria for classification is the mode of action, and based on the mode of action we have 5 different places an antibiotic can attack a cell. So either it can attack the outermost layer of the organism, that is the cell wall, or it can attack the next layer which is present after the cell wall, which is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, or it can attack processes inside the cell, for example DNA and RNA synthesis, protein synthesis, or it can attack a particular metabolic pathway. So these are the different modes of action of an antibiotic. There are 5 modes of action that we will be dealing with in the next lecture, and based on these 5 modes of action, you can see over here there are several antibiotics which have been listed out. So we will be dealing with individual mode of action. Though this can be used as one of the criteria for classification, this alone is also a very important question with respect to your university exams. I hope you all have understood today's lecture. Thank you.